Hey everybody, it's Miss Knoll here. I just want to give you an overview of the quiz you will have on Friday. Before we start, it will be in Quizzes, the online platform, so it won't be a handwritten worksheet like the one I'm about to go over. I just tried to pick similar problems that you'll see on the quiz. And as I go through them, I'll tell you how many of those to expect on the quiz. So first off, 1 and 2 says simplify. And if you notice the symbols here in the middle, it's a plus and a minus. So this is add or subtract. There will be 2 of each. So there'll be 2 add and there'll be 2 subtract polynomials on the quiz on Friday. I'm just going to do 1 of each type. So if you look at number 1, the plus, the nice thing about adding is you don't have to worry about switching any signs. It's literally combined like terms. And I advise you that when you do this, start with the highest exponent first. On the last quiz, there were some questions on standard form of a polynomial. That means it's the highest exponent and then every subsequent highest exponent after that. So in number 1, if I look at these expressions, I see 3m to the 4th and a 4m to the 4th. That's going to give me 7m to the 4th. And then I would look for an m cubed. Let's see. I don't see an m cubed. Next would be m squared. Well, I don't see an m squared. But I do have some m's. So here's a 5m plus m. Will give me a 6m. And then last, I see some constants. I see a -3 or a -3 and a -4. That's going to add to -7. And that's it. So fully finished, simplified answer. Notice none of the exponents change because you're just adding or subtracting like terms. When we get a little bit further down with properties of exponents, it's when you multiply, divide, or distribute an exponent that they're going to change. Let's take a look at number 2. So there's going to be 2 subtract. So it's subtract. Obviously, there's a minus. And what's a little bit unique about subtracting is that minus goes to each of these terms in the second set of parentheses. So when I have this first polynomial or this first set of parentheses, I'm going to subtract everything from the second set. So I'm going to do a -2p, I'm going to do a -8, and then a plus p cubed. And that's just like the addition problem. I look for my highest exponent first. Here that's a cube. I only see this p cubed, so that's just part of my answer. So p cubed. And I look for my next highest exponent will be a square. And here's a -8p squared. And that's the only p squared, so it's just -8p squared. And then look for my next like term. I see p's. Here's a plus 3p and a minus 2p. So 3p minus 2p is a plus 1p or plus p. And then last, I see 2 constants. I see a +2 and a -8. So 2 minus 8 is -6 or -6. And that one's finished. The next set of questions say find each product. Product means multiply. When we go back to the quiz, there are 3 of these total on the quiz. So they're almost exactly like the 3 I'm going to show you here. There's 1 foil, 1 what I call super foil, and then 1 a perfect square. And multiply, obviously, there's no symbol in the middle, so it's not add, it's not subtract. This is a multiply. So foil, or I know I described to some of you guys before we went on break, double distribute. So the foil would be the first term, which is 8m times 4m, or distribute the 8m to the 4m. That gives you 32m squared. Notice the exponent changed because you have m times m. So 8 times 4 is the 32, m times m gives you the m squared. And then 8m times -5 is a -40m. And then I do the 6 here. 6 times 4m is plus 24m. And 6 times -5 is -30. And I just go ahead and look to combine like terms. I have like terms here and here. And my final answer will be 32m squared. And that'll be minus, oops. That'll be minus 16m. And then minus 30. The next one's similar. I call it superfoil because I still distribute to everything, but I distribute it to three things. So the x is going to go to the 4x squared, it's going to go to the 6x, and it's going to go to the 6. So I multiply all those. So x times 4x squared, that gives me 4x cubed. X times 6x is 6x squared. And x times 6 is 6x. And then I go back and I distribute again, but I distribute the negative 6 this time to everything. And to save a little space, I'm just going to write my like terms underneath what's in red. So negative 6 times 4x squared is minus 24x squared. And I just lined it up underneath my other x squared. Negative 6 times 6x is minus 36x. And negative 6 times 6 is minus 36. So I did that to save space, and my like terms are lined up. So when I combine my like terms and I add down, obviously I get 4x cubed. There's nothing underneath it, so that saves 4x cubed. And this is going to be a minus 18x. Sorry, minus 18x squared. And this will be minus 30x. Just adding down. And then minus 36. And that's it. One last multiply, and I wanted to include it because it's a perfect square, meaning anything squared, stuff squared, and I remember showing this in class with when we did imaginary numbers, you must FOIL this out. So I must do 4v plus 7 times 4v plus 7. Remember, anything squared is that thing times itself. So I'm going to do it just like we did number 3. We're going to do 4v times 4v and 4v times 7. That's 16v squared plus 28v. Apologize for the handwriting. I'm using my finger on my mouse pad. And I distribute the 7 to everything. That's going to give me another plus 28v. And then plus 49. And my like terms here in the middle. My 16v squared stays the same. That's going to give me 56v, 28v, and 28v. And then plus 49. So expect 3 multiplication problems that look like those. All right, last on the quiz, let me look at my breakdown. Properties of exponent, there will be 7 of these. So 7 problems like these 4. So the total right now, total questions is 7. Plus 3 is 10, plus 4 is 14. There'll be 14 total questions. So the last 7 will look like this. With properties of exponents, if you need extra help, I went over this in detail in the Google Meet on Monday. So if you need to rewatch that video from Monday, do so. I'm just going to do a few more here. In that video, I recommended, first of all, to treat numbers like numbers. So I see I have this constant 2. If there was something else to multiply it by or divide it by, I would, but there isn't, so that 2 is part of my answer. And then you look for common bases. So here I see a base of b. And are there any more b's? Yes, there are. So there's a b cubed. So if you're multiplying b times b cubed, the rule was you add the exponent. So that's b to the first. So 1 plus 3 will give you b to the 4th. And I did the same thing with my a's. I have a to the 3rd times a squared. Well, I add those exponents, and that gives me a to the 5th. Again, if you need more detail about why, just see the video on Monday. The next one, if you see things in parentheses with an exponent on the outside, I called it making it rain, because it has to distribute to everything inside, every exponent, every little number that's inside. So this was 3 to the 1st, but when I distribute that square in there, it becomes 3 squared, which is 9. U to the negative fourth, I multiply, make it rain, multiply. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. So it's going to be U to the negative eighth. And then last, the square to the negative 3 is going to make that V to the negative sixth. And we talked about in the video on Monday also that negative exponents are bad. So to get rid of negative exponents, I put them in the denominator of a fraction. So my final answer, the 9 will be alone in the numerator because the 9 doesn't have a negative exponent. The 9 is a positive exponent. It's 9 to the first. The U to the eighth and V to the sixth, however, because they're negative, to make them positive, they're going to flip into the bottom. And then that's my final answer. All right, 2 more. 8, you see division. And we said in the video on Monday or last week's Khan Academy that when you divide, you subtract exponents. I mean, as long as they're the same base. So let's look at my bases. So here I have numbers, first of all. 3 over 2 is going to stay 3 over 2. If I could divide it, I would. And then I look at my bases. So here I see base A to the first, and the bottom of A to the negative second. So because I'm dividing, I'm going to subtract exponents. And I mentioned this in the video also on Monday. Whoever has the higher exponent, so A to the first, 1 is bigger than negative 2. That 1 has the power, so I'm going to subtract into the top. So 1 minus negative 2, that turns this into a plus. That'll give me an A cubed in the top. And then for my B's, I have B squared up top, B to the fourth. The 4 has the power. So the B's are going to subtract into the bottom. I'm going to do 4 minus 2. And that gives me B squared in the bottom. And that guy's done. Last one. Try to keep this under 15 minutes. That's my limit on these videos. Another multiply. But I see these parentheses. These parentheses are just mean the same thing as multiplication. So it's the same thing as number 6, this example I did previously, but I just put them in parentheses. No big deal. Ignore the parentheses. Still treat numbers like numbers. So 4 times 3 gives me 12. And then look at your common bases. I have x to the negative third, and I have x squared. They're being multiplied. Parentheses mean multiply. So negative 3 plus 2 gives me x to the negative first. And then last, y to the negative fourth times y to the third. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. These are both bad, just like in number 7. I can't have negative exponents. So those negative exponents are going to have to move into the denominator of the fraction. So both of these are going to go in the bottom of a fraction. So our final answer will be 12 at the top. And then xy, you don't need the first. If it's to the first power, xy is fine. So 14 questions total. When you go back through, if you want to practice these again, I'll post the worksheet blank. And then the answers are also on the second page if you want to check them out. Good luck on the quiz Friday. As always, send me a Remind 101 message at any time if you have a question. Bye.